Hey, you. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back. You made it. You're listening to Lost and Found, the podcast where we're unapologetically in progress, where we're figuring things out in real time together. I'm your host, Carmen Vit, and this week's episode is all about resting, not rotting. How to make the most out of your weekend, those precious 2 or 3 days where you can just disconnect. But the question is, how do you actually disconnect? And we're going to get into all of that. The reason why I want to do this podcast is because I'm still coming off of this high of this beautiful weekend I had last week. I'm still in Udaipur in India, and I think I might be here for a while. It's just the most beautiful city. The lakes, the nature, the people I've met here have really felt soul nourishing. So I think you're going to hear a few podcast episodes from this location. I'm going to be gushing about this lake for a while. So last weekend was one of the first weekends in a long time where I told myself I just want to relax. I really want to rest because before that, I would work every single weekend. I just didn't start my weeks feeling refreshed, feeling like I just came from 2 days of rest. So last weekend, I told myself things have to change and I want to be intentional with how I spend that free time. So I actually joined a few friends on this sunrise excursion. We rented a few little motorcycles and we actually made our way all around Lake Bicola while the sun was rising. Went to this mountaintop, watched the sunrise, had chai, beautiful conversations. Came back and it was like 9. It felt like we had already lived a whole day. And because I started the day on such a beautiful note, I just had this energy to keep doing things that made me feel good. So I went for a long walk. I got myself this beautiful handmade skirt at one of the local markets. And I read a book. It just felt so beautiful. And I started this week feeling like I can do anything. So I want to talk about how we spend our weekends because I think that we don't know how to rest anymore. And how could we deal with that? How can we change that? Let me set the scene for you. It's Saturday, 5 p.m. You said you would rest, but all you've been doing all weekend is switching between Instagram and TikTok for hours, while Netflix is playing on the television and your laptop is haphazardly pushed to the side because you promised yourself you would work, but you keep pushing it out, telling yourself, no, I'll do it later. So now you're just feeling guilty that you're maybe not finishing the work that you should be finishing, but you're also feeling guilty because you know you're not really relaxing. And the time ticks by, and next thing you know, it's Monday morning, you feel exhausted, you've done nothing but rot and scroll. Scrolling is not a hobby, please. Our generation needs to learn that. Okay, before we get into all of that, I want to ask, what is rot? It's what happens when you stop moving, but you don't actually slow down. So your body is still, but your mind is still spinning. Your screen time is up, but your energy is down. And you feel so overstimulated, but also empty at the same time. So you're not resting, you're not recovering, you're laying in your bed, you're scrolling through social media, and you're just numbing yourself. Or you're avoiding the rest in some way. You're not present. You're not physically doing anything, maybe, but it's like you're paused with the volume up. So this looks like doing nothing, but still feeling burnt out, still feeling overstimulated. And of course, I do think that there is space in our lives for little pockets of rotting, for scrolling. I mean, social media can be a really creative outlet. It can be a beautiful way to connect to people, to build a community, to be part of a community. I don't think it's all bad, but where I think it gets dangerous is when you avoid life, avoid true rest, avoid going out in the world and making meaningful social connections and having deep experiences that grow you as a person by laying in bed and just endlessly scrolling, consuming, never creating, never experiencing. I think that is when rot gets dangerous. So this episode is all about how can we not rot, but rest so that we can truly recover and go into our weeks feeling more productive and add more value to the world, have better, more meaningful lives. That's what we all want, isn't it? So rot is what happens when your body tries to slow down. Your body is begging you to slow down, but your brain just won't let it. You're still overstimulated. You're still chasing that dopamine high. And the problem is why we don't know how to rest anymore is that we confuse dopamine with restoration. We think laying there, getting that quick dopamine fix of the 0.5 second long videos that we're watching for 3 hours long, that instant dopamine hit that you get every single time, we think that's somehow restoring us because we're laying still. But we all know that feeling where when you finally put your phone down, your eyes hurt. It's like your brain is hurting and you're just like, ugh, what am I doing with my life? That feeling, that is rot. We've mistaken stimulation for relaxation. And why do we not know how to rest anymore? I think that in your week, in your daily life, we are one of two things. We're either completely overscheduled, so we're so busy running around doing all these things, or we completely underfunction. We literally lay in one position, staring at a screen, unable to do anything. There's no in between anymore, either overscheduled or underfunctioned. So there's no balance, and we struggle to find that space where rest feels like a deep breath, where doing nothing and entering into stillness is meaningful and restorative. Another reason why I think we don't know how to rest anymore is because we're so conditioned to think that we constantly need to be chasing something, a goal, a glow up, a new identity. We are made to feel that productivity is the be all and end all, and that our value is completely linked to output. So when we stop producing, we feel guilty, and then that guilt poisons our rest, turning it into rot. So by the end of the week, we are completely exhausted by all these things that we needed to do, but somehow we don't allow ourselves to fully switch off. So then we turn to numbing, to scrolling, to binge watching, binge eating without being present. And it's as if we're trying to escape the work, but also the feeling that we should still be working. And often when you're in that space, especially if you're constantly consuming media of people who put stuff out there about, you know, getting better all the time, self-growth, productivity goals, all these things, if you're constantly consuming that and it's making you feel guilty, it's making you feel like you're not doing enough, you feel lazy, it just worsens the cycle. And I want to tell you something. You're not lazy. In fact, you're probably carrying too much. Most people today don't need more productivity tips. We need permission to set things down, actually. If you're tired all the time, it's probably because your mind has been on high alert for so long. And you're constantly moving between tasks, to-do lists, and then this overstimulation of all the technology we're constantly surrounded by. I mean, if you think about it, the average 20-something today is experiencing more stimulation and stress in one day than the average adult did during their entire lives a few generations ago. And this was published in a study. How crazy is that? I mean, the level of things we see, the news we're bombarded with, the opinions, the chaos that just comes from our little digital screens, that becomes our reality and we're so engulfed in it, it is exhausting. And so we wonder, why am I tired? If all weekend long, all I did was lay on my phone and scroll because I didn't have energy to do anything else, why am I tired? Because your brain is still so overstimulated, even though your body is laying still. Your body is on pause, but your brain's volume is turned up. And so there's just this glitch that's happening, this inconsistency. And the problem is, when you tire yourself out with too much on your plate, too much work, and then try to rest by like numbing and binge watching and overstimulating, then you don't even have the energy to actually do things over the weekend or in the afternoons or evenings that actually give you rest and makes your soul and your body feel nourished and reset. But what you need to understand before we go into the examples, the nitty-gritty, is that true rest is not inactivity. It is nervous system repair. True rest isn't just doing nothing. It is when you are regulating your nervous system. So, what does that mean? You're tuning back into your body. You're not checking out. You're not numbing yourself. You're not disassociating and losing yourself in a digital world. You are turning back into yourself, looking inward. There are 3 types of rest. Physical rest, like resting your body, napping, walking, stretching. And again, this physical rest shouldn't be laying still and scrolling through a screen. It shouldn't be overstimulating your mind while your body is stagnant. No, physical rest can look like soft movement, or it can look like truly resting your brain along with your body. Because your brain is part of your body. I mean, look out of the window, make a cup of tea while putting your phone down. Drink your coffee while the sunlight hits your face. Just be in the moment, be in your body, and be intentional with how you approach rest. Rest is not the absence of effort, it's the presence of intention. I'm going to say that again. Rest is not the absence of effort, it's the presence of intention. You can rest while going on a walk, while doing a yoga class, cooking yourself something, doing something with movement, but it's intentional. That can be rest. You can watch a movie, and if it's intentional, if you pick that movie because you know how that movie is going to make you feel, you find it interesting, you're really there watching the movie, that's intentional, and then that's rest. I think anything can be rest. Even scrolling can be rest if it's done intentionally. But when it's done for hours on end and it makes you feel awful and it makes you completely check out and disassociate from your body, that's when it becomes rot. Another type of rest is mental rest. So rest your brain. I'm a big fan of doing a digital detox. Or read fiction. Oh, please read fiction. Not only does fiction widen your perspective and teach you more about how other people think and how they live their lives, but it's entertaining. You get to marvel at something. Marvel at words, at art, at language. You get swept away into a different world. But what happens in your brain, the type of stimulation that happens in your brain when you're reading, it's not disconnecting, it's not disassociating, but you're actually building neural pathways that allow you to focus better, that build your creativity, your empathy. Studies have shown that reading fiction makes people more empathetic. Also, journaling. I had such a beautiful conversation yesterday about journaling and how when you use that word nowadays, especially in a place of like a podcast or a mental wellness space, people kind of roll their eyes because it's just such a cliche at this point, right? Everybody's like, you need to journal. But genuinely, if you can just let go of the judgment of yourself and just write whatever comes to your mind. Sometimes it takes a few pages, a few minutes to get yourself in the flow of just free writing. Whatever comes to mind, just going with it. Treating it like a voice note that you're sending to your best friend or to yourself. Then your subconscious mind comes to the fore in such interesting ways, and you find answers to things that you didn't know were already in you. Because you already know. I truly believe that your subconscious already knows. You already have the knowing in you. But sometimes we get so distracted by the world, by other people, other people's opinions, and we're confused and we don't know what to do. But when you're journaling, it's like you're having this conversation with yourself. You are not only spending time with yourself and getting to know yourself better, but you're also telling your mind that, hey, I'm here to listen. I'm not going to judge you. Let's see what you have in there. And you give yourself that space of free writing, and you will be amazed at what answers come to you, what clarity you can find in that. And journaling you can make into a little date. One of my favorite things to do, especially while traveling, because I spend so much time alone, is to find a really nice bar. Like, this is one of my guilty pleasures, is like a glamorous, glitzy bar, maybe a nice hotel bar. I'll go there, I'll dress up just for myself, and I'll journal while having like one glass of wine. That is like one of my favorite ways to treat myself. So make it a little solo date, make it an outing. Go to a park, go journal in a park, by a pond somewhere in nature where you can feel the sun on your skin and just re-enter your body. Okay, so that's mental rest. Another one is emotional rest. Rest your heart. Have honest conversations with people. Connect with humans in a genuine way. If you are socially fatigued and you really don't feel like you want to go out in a group, don't do it. Don't say yes to things that you know will make you feel depleted or worse. But try and once every weekend, like go out with maybe one friend that you really want to hang out with. Have a deep conversation or call a friend, call a loved one. Connect in a real way about what's actually going on in your life. Cry if you have to. Just allow yourself to feel held, to feel safe. I think the most important thing to realize is that rest is not about escaping your life for the weekend. It's about re-entering it, reminding yourself of who you actually are. You don't need more time off. You just need more meaning in the time you already have. So again, I'm going to say this. Rest is not the absence of effort. It's the presence of intention. Rest becomes rot when it's not done with care, when it's passive, when it's punishment for being tired. And instead of nourishing yourself, nourishing who you're becoming, you treat your weekend or your off time like a throwaway thing. No, your time off, your weekends should be treated like a ceremony. It is sacred. The people you allow into the space of your off time should know how sacred it is. You should be intentional with that. You need to rest with reverence. Make it a whole thing. Put effort into making your life feel sensual, luxurious. And I don't mean spending money, but I mean putting on Nora Jones while you're cooking, taking a long bath and lighting a candle, oiling your hair without doing anything else, going for a long walk at sunset time, and really being present with yourself, seeing the colors. I really think luxury is all about presence, about feeling the space in your mind to expand and just be, to take a breath. So start treating your weekend like a ceremony. But with that side note, if you're only ever resting to escape your life, if you only ever feel rested and rejuvenated over the weekends, then I have a really big question for you, something to think about. Maybe the real work you should be doing is making a life you don't feel like you need to escape from. Because yes, of course, we work hard during the week. We need rest no matter what type of work we're doing. Even if I'm doing something I love, when I'm writing, blogging, recording the podcast, doing all these creative things, I love it. It completely fills me up. But I still need days where I don't focus on anything work-wise, where I really just put myself in a different mindset, something that can recharge me. Everybody needs that. Also, you don't need to wait for the weekend to rest. You can build little pockets of reset into your everyday life. You can invite a friend over for a really nice dinner to cook something on a Wednesday evening. On a Tuesday afternoon during your lunch break, you can go for a walk in the park. You don't have to wait or procrastinate on resting. Okay, now I want to share a few little things that always bring me back to myself and make me feel energized. Maybe you relate to this. I really encourage you to write down your own list of things that make you feel energized. I love this concept that's been going around on social media that's called a dopamine menu. Um, I mean, I'm not one for trends, but this one I absolutely love. The idea is to write down a list of things that you know make you feel good. And they range from the smallest little things to bigger things. And then when you're ever feeling down or it's Saturday and you don't know what to do with yourself and you have space and time for something, you go back to your list. And it's like ordering something from a menu that gives you a dopamine kick in a healthy way, that brings you back to yourself, that makes you feel energized. So here's a list of some of my ones. And they are travel and home edition. So it's something where you can do on the road or even when you're home. And a lot of mine are solo activities because I'm full-time solo traveling. So I spend a lot of time by myself. But this is also stuff you can do with friends. And because I'm now in a space where I'm staying longer in cities because I'm working more, I do want to find more of a balance between uh, travel and building some type of routine, building a digital nomad life. I'm at a really nice balancing point where I feel like I have in every city where I go enough time where I can create rituals, where I can make real friendships. And so a lot of this stuff would then be either alone or with those friends. So one problem I really have is that I would go into the weekend still wanting to do a bunch of work. I mean, just never finish everything I want to finish. So I go into the weekend thinking, I will finish this on Saturday, or I need to do a little bit more work on Friday evening or Sunday morning. And when the weekend starts, I'm just so depleted that I keep pushing out and procrastinating on actually doing this work that I end up spending the whole weekend thinking about it in the back of my mind and feeling guilty that I'm not doing the work, but also feeling guilty that I'm also not properly resting. And then I always end up Sunday night trying to do something, or Monday morning just feeling awful that I wasted another weekend feeling guilty. So, as far as you can, take your weekends completely off, or at least give yourself one day where you know you're not going to work, and then you don't feel guilty about it. But if you do have to work somewhere, schedule it and stick to that time. And outside of that time, those 2 hours on a Saturday morning or whenever it is, outside of that time, know that you're not going to think about it. Tell yourself you're not going to feel guilty. So much of rest is giving yourself that mental space to just be and not constantly think about everything you need to be doing and feeling guilty that you're not working harder. Okay, so getting back to the little things that make me feel energized, my dopamine menu. First on the list is waking up with no alarm, no phone in the morning. I wake up and I either just open the windows and make myself a cup of coffee slowly. I put my face towards the sun. I look outside and then I would get back in bed and I would read maybe for like 1 or 2 hours. That is like peak luxury to me. Having the morning to read fiction, oh, I absolutely love it. Nothing starts my day better. And just feeling the sunlight on your face before any screen light hits your face, or making yourself breakfast from scratch, playing your favorite music, frying real mushrooms, cutting up the avocado, eating some fruit, something that nourishes you. Later in the day, I would go to a park or a cafe and I would just sit there reading or I would be journaling. And I would just look at all these people that I'm surrounded by, strangers and how they're being together, pages rustling, people sitting next to me reading, someone's coffee cooling beside me, seeing how people interact, people watching a little bit, feeling the world slow down in some way. I think one of the best places in the whole world where you can see the true beauty of humanity is a city park on like a Saturday or Sunday morning. It's just this coming together of strangers who live so close to each other, on top of each other in this crazy city where they're so busy with their lives. But then in this space of rest, they come to this park where they want to reconnect with nature and they're just being together. They're resting together side by side. I love that. The whole concept of a park inside a big city is just so beautiful to me. Another thing I love doing is going for a long walk. And when I say long walk, I mean like 3, 4 hours. Just strolling, purposefully getting lost, exploring a new neighborhood in the area that I'm in. Sometimes maybe listening to an audiobook or some music, or sometimes just letting myself be with my thoughts. Another one is going to a market and supporting a local business while I'm treating myself to something handmade, maybe. Buy yourself a little present. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Maybe just something that you know you'll cherish. Little token of love for yourself. Another one I would say is do something meaningful, active, and outdoorsy with friends. Like go play tennis, even if you don't know how to play tennis, or paddle, or go do a hike, go to the beach, swim in the ocean, join each other for a dance class or a Pilates class. So get active, get your heartbeat racing, and do it with friends or somebody who means something to you. I think it will just make it that much more fun. Then, one night, maybe go out with friends. Another night, watch a movie that really makes your heartbeat slow down. Something that feels artsy, sensual, that can take you out of yourself while putting you right back in your feels at the same time. I don't know, something like Call Me By Your Name or The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, Midnight in Paris, or Before Sunrise. Something that you can marvel at, something that feels like art, but it still grabs your attention. You're still super interested in it. But it's not just some hollow action movie, plug and play script, rom-com. It's something that means something. It's a movie that reflects the human spirit in some way that makes you feel like you can relate, that makes you cry, that makes you feel longing or laugh, or something that you'll remember. Then, big one, do something creative or artsy. Go to a museum or a theater production or a poetry reading. If you're in a city, there are so many interesting things happening all the time. And bonus points is if you go to something like that, you'll also meet really interesting people. You'll meet adults who know how to have hobbies or, let's say, quote unquote, extracurricular activities. And the people who have that are usually really well functioning, well rounded people. So you have the opportunity to meet interesting people, probably make new friends, and you'll feel just creatively nourished. Or if something like that isn't available in the place where you live, sit down in your own space and try to do something artistic that puts you out of your comfort zone. So for you, that could look like painting, even if it's painting by numbers. In fact, I think something like painting by numbers is so therapeutic because it makes your mind focus entirely on the task that you're doing. So that's a type of mental rest. Your mind isn't going 1,000 directions at once. It's really focusing on the task at hand. And when you're doing something artistic just for you, take the pressure off. This is not something you have to monetize. Creativity and creative rest is just play without expecting applause. You're doing this for you. There's no pressure for it to be perfect. It completely defeats the purpose if you're sitting there writing or making something or baking or sculpturing or dancing and you're judging yourself for it. That's not the point. The creativity I'm talking about here, creative rest, is just all about the act. And if you're judging yourself for the act, then it isn't rest. It completely defeats the purpose. So really think of it as a way to just release. And then another one, and like I mentioned, something on my dopamine menu that might be a bit strange for some people is going to a nice bar, treating myself to a glass of wine and reading or journal. But now on that point, I do want to talk about alcohol and the role it plays in our weekends. Now, I'm definitely not here to preach at all. I love having a glass of wine while I'm cooking dinner, or I'm having a meaningful conversation with someone and it's over a bottle of wine. Like, I'm genuinely not here to preach at you at all. But I do think we should ask ourselves a few questions. So for many of us, maybe alcohol becomes this shortcut to presence. But in truth, maybe it's just a shortcut to absence and disassociating. I mean, you're working all day, you go see friends on a Friday night, and The way you try and bridge the gap from your work self to your social self is just immediately through alcohol. Or you're out every weekend and the next morning you're hungover. So your whole weekend that was supposed to be restful is spent getting over a hangover. And hangovers aren't just physical, they come with emotional fog, with guilt, with exhaustion. And sometimes I think we just need to ask ourselves, what would a weekend look like if we weren't hungover, if we weren't drinking? How can you feel free and social and silly and soft without having to unwind or escape with some substance? Ask yourself, do you drink because the moment is already so full and beautiful and you want to celebrate that? Is it a meaningful way for you to celebrate connection? Or do you drink because the moment feels empty and it's a way for you to just cover up the longing, cover up the emptiness? These, again, are just questions to think about. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But I mean, we were talking about how rest is intentional. Rot is when you disassociate, when you numb. And numbing goes far beyond just doom scrolling or binge watching. If you just binge drink and you're hungover all weekend, you're going to feel awful. It's completely going to sap you of energy. And you're going to spend the whole weekend not doing things that make you feel fulfilled. So I want to urge you, and I want to urge myself and just 20-somethings and young people in general, how can we connect and use alcohol in an intentional, celebratory way and not as something that controls us or that we use to escape and we have to spend our free time recovering from it? You don't have to give up drinking. You just need to get honest about what it's costing you. And if it's not costing you anything and you're in complete control, then that's beautiful. By all means, have your glass of wine, treat yourself. Now, what I want to ask you, if you're feeling burnt out already, maybe you're listening to this today and it's Thursday or it's a Friday or whenever you're listening to this and you're thinking of the weekend ahead, what I don't want you to do is have this episode now give you a to-do list of things that mentally just add pressure to how you should spend your weekend. Now you're thinking like, oh, Carmen told me I need to go outside. I need to go to a museum. I need to do something creative. I need to have a solo date. Like, no, these are all just ideas of things that make me feel energized and rested. Take some of them as inspiration if you want. You know what makes you feel energized and rested. Maybe it's something completely different than anything I've just mentioned. But it's not about pressure. It's not about having the perfect weekend, because even that idea is exhausting. It's about tuning into your body and realizing what you need at this stage, opening up space for rest and being really intentional with how you approach that free time. And please remember, if you're feeling completely burnt out, you don't need to fix it all this weekend. Start with one thing that nourishes your body and one thing that nourishes your mind. And let Sunday be soft. Let your Sundays be luxurious, slow. Let your Monday come gently. We are under the impression that everything needs to be rushed. There's this fake urgency that our jobs give us. Like, nothing is really the end of the world. You know, nothing in your job, unless you're a doctor, is the be-all and end-all, and people's lives are at stake. So just, relax. Nothing is that serious. Take a breath. Take a reset. Whatever that might look like for you. And then I want to leave you with this closing thought. What if rest isn't the reward after work, but the foundation for it? Rest shouldn't be your reward for the grind. You should build your whole entire life on rest and things that feed you life, right? And then from that, your energy for work can grow, can sprout. So right now, as we're finishing up, go make yourself a cup of tea. Go pour yourself a glass of water or a cup of coffee or make yourself some avocado on toast. And just do it while not checking your phone, please. Later today, go for a walk. Take a book. Look at the sunset. Smile at another human being. Just put yourself back in your body, back into the experience of being a human, and not just two eyes looking at a screen, looking at some ridiculous drama unfolding on social media about people who are very far removed from you. Life can be so beautiful. We have the opportunity to have a life that we're completely in love with if you're intentional about how you curate the experience of being you. Thanks for being here. If this episode spoke to you, please send it to the person you'd call at midnight. And leave me a review. I'd love to know how you spend a really restful, energized weekend. Okay, I'll catch you on Monday. Same heart, same Carmen, probably a different place. And hey, don't be afraid to get a little lost. That's where the magic finds you.